Good morning. It is Monday, June 1st. June already, and it is Mantra Monday around here at Akayani Music. And this is the time of week where we can start off our week on a spiritually strong note, because my music is pretty much all about that. So what a week we've had and continue to have, full of pain and full of suffering. So it's wonderful to take shelter of something transcendental and have an oasis here. So in that spirit, I wanted to read something before I get into the last verse of the Sikshastakam. This is the 8th week. This is the last week of this series of exploring and trying to stick our toe a little bit into the ocean of devotion as brought forth by these beautiful prayers, mantras, verses by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was a saint, a mystic, a scholar, and very charismatic spiritual personality that left some beautiful instructions for us, but in fact embodied, the instructions. A very, 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 very special avatar. But as I was going through the Antya Lila this morning, I found another verse, because remember, Lord Chaitanya, he is the incarnation of humility. He's the avatar and incarnation of ecstatic love in the mood of separation, in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And so he embodies all the qualities, all the good qualities of Srimati Radharani. And chief among that is humility. Uttamahana Vaishnava Hape Nirabhimana Jive Samana Dive Jani Kṛṣṇa Adhisthana. Uttamahana, although being very much exalted, Vaishnava, a devotee, Habe, should become, Nirabhimana, without pride, Jive, to all living entities, Samana Dibe, should give respect, Jani, knowing, Kṛṣṇa Adhisthana, the resting place of Kṛṣṇa. Translation: although a Vaishnava is the most exalted person, he is prideless and gives all respect to everyone, knowing everyone to be the resting place of Kṛṣṇa. If only those police officers could understand and know this verse, that within the heart of every single person that they come across, the Lord is residing in that person's heart, and as such deserves respect. So the basis of our brotherhood and our sisterhood, the basis of our being one family, regardless of the species that we find ourselves in, is our spiritual connection. I saw a very nice post which I shared to my Instagram story yesterday in regards to George Floyd, was that when we pray, we say our Father. Everyone says that, our Father, regardless. So that is an indication right there of how we were all united on the spiritual plane. So in yoga, again, we'll fold our hands together and we'll say namaste or namaskar, or offer that to the person that we are encountering. And that is, we are offering respects to the divine in that person. We are acknowledging it first upon meeting them. And that helps us to remain mindful of that, we are dealing with a brother and we are dealing with a sister. And that there is a witness, that there is someone watching us always in everything that we do, hoping that we will do the right thing, hoping that we will remember and become conscious, because that consciousness is what makes us tender in heart, and that's what makes our exchanges here relishable and sweet, what to speak of spiritual exchanges. So this is just on a day-to-day platform that Chaitanya is speaking about here. Not even talking about anything highfalutin, not even talking about anything, mystical, super mystical. So while we can have a glimpse and a taste of ecstatic love and happiness as we're first approaching spiritual life, where we're still largely ignorant, in order to keep advancing, we have to become aware of these different principles, but also act on them. So a Vaishnava, a devotee, is always very distressed at the pain of another. This is one of the qualities of a Vaishnava, is that they're very, very soft-hearted. And if someone is being beaten or if someone is being mistreated, they take that unhappiness as their own unhappiness. Okay. I think I saw an eyeball here. So if you're here and you want to make a comment to let me know you're here, that would be wonderful. I hope you have your tea or your coffee. I put a little fresh mint in mine this morning from the garden. So now, getting up to verse 8 of the Sikshastakam. So if you remember last week, hi Hilda. Hi, I've been enjoying your posts on cooking and everything. It's been wonderful watching you on Instagram. I appreciate it. And happy birthday again. I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but never hurts to say happy birthday again. So, I am reading from Antya Lila, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, written by Kṛṣṇa Das Kaviraj, completed in the year 1615, corresponding to the Renaissance and the Western calendar. These closing leelas or pastimes take place in Odisha, the state of Odisha, in the town of Puri, also known as Jagannath Puri, because there's a great, great temple to Jagannath there. Jagannath means Lord of the Universe. And so Chaitanya, during this last part of his manifest pastimes, was in a state of profound mysticism and in a profound, you could say, altered state in ecstatic love, where he was no longer in external consciousness. He is now deeply diving into bhava, into mahabhava, because of course he is Vishnu tattva, and so as such the scale, of his emotion is beyond our imagination. But still, we have all been in love or felt that, so we can get a little idea or get a little glimpse, a little bit of a shadow understanding of what he's feeling here in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani is the supreme goddess. She is the internal potency of the Lord. She and the Lord are one. They actually cannot be separated. But it's explained that in order to enjoy, they have separated and taken on, they have two different identities. So Chaitanya has come in this mood of love and separation in Vipralanga, as I was explaining last week, which is actually considered to be, by Radharani herself and all the acharyas, to be on a higher platform than love in sambhoga, or love in union. Why is that? That is because, as Srimati Radharani said last week, or Chaitanya channeling Srimati Radharani said last week in verse 7 of this Sikshastakam, is that when she is separated from the Lord, she actually sees the Lord in everything and in everywhere, and that there is a kind of an ecstasy and a kind of a joy in that mellow, and there is also the anticipation of being reunited, with the beloved. So we can relate to that, right? We're unhappy when we're away from the person that we're madly in love with, but we think about them all the time. They are ever present with us, and also we have this anticipation and this thrill and excitement that we are going to get to see them again. So all these things that we experience here on this plane, as we are made in the image of God, are exactly that. In other words, as is above, so is below. Of course, the difference here in the material universe and the material world is that things are temporal. They are temporary. They have a beginning and they have an end, and we are separated by time. We are separated by death. We are separated by these different things. Of course, as you evolve in your consciousness, time and these different things vanish, they disappear. That's a matter of consciousness and evolution. But still, as incarnated jivas in this world, we are subject to the laws of material nature. We are subject to Daivi Shakti Gunamayi. We are subject to the external energy of the Lord. But when we connect in sound vibration, and when we connect in sadhaka bhakti, sadhana bhakti, when we take this to the spiritual path, we are becoming, let's say, vegetarian. We are offering our food. We are trying to practice sense control. We are doing our meditations. We are practicing this mindfulness in the way that we treat other people, in the way that we treat other living entities. We've got our chants on, all these different things that we are doing to remain mindful and to remain conscious. Slowly, or sometimes quickly, it really depends on the soul. There's some people that come to Bhakti Yoga and they just whiz along, and there's others, that it takes us longer, and it's all right. But anyway, my point is that we can dive into and be in this world but not of this world, and actually experience this joy and happiness that is not contingent upon any material circumstances whatsoever. Not our birth, not our financials, not where we live, not what we look like, none of that, our age or anything. So Srimati Radharani, who is the queen of devotion, is selfless. She is selfless in a completely transcendental way. And her mood, as the internal energy, is to actually bring others, to bring others to Krishna's lotus feet. That is her great pleasure. That is one aspect of her. That's a very, very important aspect of her. Okay, so let me read this in Sanskrit, and then I'll read the word for word translation, and then I'll try and break it down as best I can. This is verse 47 from chapter 20, Antya-lila. Āśliṣya va pāda-ratāṁ pinaṣṭu mam adarśanān marma-hatām karotu va yathā tathā va vidadhātu lampaṭo mat-prāṇa-nāthas tu sa eva nāparaḥ. So I'm going to read that again. Āśliṣya va pāda-ratāṁ pinaṣṭu mam adarśanān marma-hatām karotu va yathā tathā va vidadhātu lampaṭo mat-prāṇa-nāthas tu sa eva nāparaḥ. Just reciting it feels cooling. Even if you don't know what it means, it feels like moon rays. Āśliṣya, embracing with great pleasure. Let me put this up here. You can see a little bit better and see you. Okay. Va, or pāda-ratāṁ, who have fallen at the lotus feet. Pinaṣṭu, let him trample. Mam, me. Adarśanān, by not being visible. Marma-hatām, brokenhearted. Va, or vidadhātu, let him do. Lampaṭo, a debauchee, who mixes with other women. mat-prāṇa-nāthas, the Lord of my life. Tu, but. Saha, he. Eva, only. nāparaḥ, not anyone else. Okay, so I'm going to have to put this in context. So there's no misunderstandings. This is very elevated, and it's hard for us to understand this, because it cannot be equated with mundane loving affairs. Let Kṛṣṇa tightly embrace this maidservant who has fallen at his lotus feet, or let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. He is a debauchee after all and can do whatever he likes, but still he alone and no one else is the worshipful Lord of my heart. So what does that mean? Does this mean that Krishnadas Kaviraj and Chaitanya Charitamrita is encouraging us to get involved with people who are involved in illicit affairs and are cheating? No, it is not. So in order to understand this verse, you actually have to understand again who Srimati Radharani is, that she is Godhead also, and that she is making a reference here to her own expansions to the gopis, to the other gopis. And is also explaining that there are different things that the Lord does to actually increase our love for him. And one of the things that he does is that he will appear and then he will disappear. It's like a playing, like a loving game. So if we have a paramour, we can understand this, where there is some teasing, or perhaps you have a fight, you have an argument, and it seems as if you're going to break up, but you're not really going to break up. There's a song like that by George Benson called "It's All in the Game," right? So there are even people that will, have massive fights and so forth, just so they can make up, just for the fun of making up. This is also referencing the Lord's independence, that he is completely independent and that he is not obliged to do anything with anyone at any time. Still, he is bound by the affection of his devotees. So, in the Old Testament and all of that, the Lord is, always referred to kind of as, all-powerful and, kind of an angry God and all of that, and displays, a lot of his power and his majesty. So yes, it's true that the Lord does have a lot of power and majesty, but he knows that what he really enjoys is intimacy. Just as we enjoy that intimacy, he enjoys that intimacy with his inner circle, with his entourage. We are actually part of that inner circle and entourage, but we've forgotten it. So the whole process of being here in the material world for us is a process of reawakening and coming back to our true self in whatever rasa or whatever relationship that we have with our Ishtadev, with our worshipable Lord. And for each person, that is different. That is a different thing. And it's an eternal relationship, and it's a sweet one. I want to make that point as well. Hey, good morning, Rosalba Emmanuel King. Nice to see you here today. I've been enjoying all your drawings of Hosier. I've actually been waiting for my Hosier sweatshirt to get here, if it ever gets here. So, this mood that Srimati Radharani is expressing is on a very, very, very high platform, and it is something that cannot be imitated. She is saying that regardless of whether you're before me, I love you, unconditionally, or whether you break my heart, this is like, because you decide not to be present before me, or if you decide to go off, and enjoy yourself in the company of other devotees, and not me. Still, regardless, you are my worshipable Lord. Actually, sometimes in this translation, you say you are my worshipable Lord, life after life. So it is hard for us to understand as very, very small living entities, as very small jivas, why things don't go smoothly, or why we have to, experience these kinds of ups and downs here. We experience a lot of ups and downs here, don't we? But the ups and downs, that we will experience on the spiritual platform, on the transcendental platform, actually add to that ruchi. Ruchi means taste, of that mellow, of the relationship that we have with the Supreme. Because all these different emotions, all these different spiritual emotions are aspects of ecstasy. I was trying to explain as best I could last week that this is what separates the wheat from the chaff. In the material world here, it's not possible for us to stay on this platform because it is taking us to an end that is destructive, right? It is taking us to an end that is depressing. It's taking us to an end that is, bad for our health. But in the spiritual world, we don't have a material body. We are not subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. Time is conspicuous by its absence. Everything that we do there is unending and is eternal. And so, what is there to do? What is there to do but to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into this vast ocean spiritual emotion, of transcendental emotion. And so as such, the Lord, Kṛṣṇa, he employs, different sort of, transcendental tactics and so forth to, what is the word, to sort of churn up, to increase the nectar of the loving exchanges and the loving pastimes between himself and us. That's it. That's basically what is done there, and it takes different forms. So Śrīmati Radharani, of course, is in that mood of madhurya rasa, in the mood of conjugal love. Sometimes you hear these references, not so often, but sometimes, particularly with the nuns, with the sisters in, I want to say Catholicism. I'm thinking of Saint Therese of Lisieux, and there was also another sister whose name is escaping me right now. She might have also been Saint Teresa, but she was explaining in her writings, in her ecstasy, that this kind of separation, was like arrows through her heart, but it was a kind of a pain that was full of an incredible joy. So this is what Śrīmati Radharani is getting at here. And again, well, I think the two ladies that are watching, I think that you're very spiritually astute. So I think that you understand a little bit what I'm talking about here. What else can I say? What else can I say about this verse? Let Kṛṣṇa tightly embrace this maidservant who has fallen at his lotus feet. So, she could have said, she could have said something else other than maidservant, right? She could have said something else, but that's the word that she used. And so it points out to the fact that our inherent relationship, our eternal relationship, is based on service, is based on love. That there is always a kind of a humility and an acknowledgement on one level of another of the Lord's position. This is a more intimate relationship here. But even if we are in that mood of awe and reverence, where we acknowledge and are taking in, the greatness of, that is still an appreciation and an acknowledgement of what our position is. And because of that, we actually are able to come closer. It seems like a paradox, and I guess it is a paradox, but basically, I guess I would say in a nutshell, is that the Lord himself is prideless, and he doesn't appreciate false ego. He doesn't appreciate when we become prideful and we think that he is just at our beck and call at every moment. He sort of is and he isn't. It depends on the mood in which you approach. That is extremely important. I am going to stop here because I don't want to keep talking in circles. Let me just look here and see if there's anything else. Yeah. Well, she goes on to say, my dear friend, just hear the decision of my mind. Kṛṣṇa is the Lord of my life in all conditions, whether he shows me affection or kills me by giving me unhappiness. Of course, she's not really talking about being killed. When we're in the spiritual world, actually the soul can never be killed. So the language is a little bit dramatic. The language is in the language of a lover, right? so we feel that way when we can't be with our beloved. But I think that the principle and what I'm trying to get to here is that it's unconditional, and that when we can develop this inner strength, the spiritual strength, we are able to, withstand, and we are able to go through the vicissitudes of life, because the platform upon which we are standing, and which is our foundation, is immovable, is rock solid. There is a saying or a reference, I should say, in the Bhagavad Gita, where it's described that a yogi or a mystic or a devotee is like a lamp in a windless place, that they are so fixed on the beloved that there is absolutely nothing that can deter them, that can break that determination. And because of that, there is a inner peace. And that's what I want to say today about this, and I'm very, very happy that you joined me today. Again, I just want to close by saying that we should never become callous to the sufferings of others, and that I want to extend my sympathy and my condolences to the family of George Floyd. Someone said to me the other day that all lives matter, and yes, certainly all lives matter. However, we're talking about a specific man, a specific life that was cut short, a father of two, someone who had a wife. He was a husband. He was active in his community. As far as I can tell, he was a church-going man. He was a peaceful man. He wanted people to come together. And that this kind of asuuric activity needs to be cast out of our society, where we take the lives of others and other living entities and cut them off before they are able to fulfill their destiny and their purpose in this life, and cause great distress in society. So let us all become, especially those who promised to serve and protect, to remember that the Lord is present in the heart of everyone, and everyone needs to be treated, at the very least, with respect, because we are all brothers and sisters, united spiritually because of our commonality, the Lord in the heart. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and that you are able to find peace within these trying times. I will also tell you that there is a live drawing event coming up, since I have two artists here, Rose Alba and Hilda, on Monday, June 15th from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you're a night owl, which I think you are, Hilda, that would be from 9 to 11 p.m. My friend Richard is hosting a crowdcast online video drawing session with yours truly. I'm going to be dressed up in some costume. I am cooking something up, and it is supported by Patreon. So if that's something that you're interested in, and you want to do some life drawing, check it out. He's got a lot going on. He's got drawing sessions going on Mondays. He's got drawing sessions, I think, going on Wednesdays. He's got review sessions. It might give you some inspiration also to start something, of your own in your own time zone. But please, go and check it out. And if you know anyone who is itching to get back to drawing and is, hella bored, that's a way that, we can be together and do a little modeling. You'll notice that on this page I posted a photo of me on the catwalk when I got the chance to work for Kansai Yamamoto back in Paris back in the day. It was around 93. I'm wearing a very cool jacket with a kind of like a lightning on it, which was of course a nod to David Bowie. I think this was about the time that David Bowie and Iman were, you know, kind of getting together, and that was certainly noticed in the fashion world. And they seemed to remember that there were kind of a lot of little nods and sort of little tributes in that way to the late great David Jones, otherwise known as David Bowie. All right, I love you guys. Okay, so I will be live at 9:35 a.m. on Instagram, and in about an hour, the Sanskrit and the verse and the translation will appear on this page, so you can study that if you like. Bye-bye now.